Kyle, you about got me on that middle one. I do not recover quickly from emotional songs, and then the last verse about got me too on that last one. So thank you for the songs. Good evening. Thank you for being here. There's a lot of things you could be doing in 72 degrees in February. Appreciate you being here this evening. If you're visiting with us, thanks for the miles. Thanks for the time. Thanks for you being here. Before we begin, I want a little something for everybody. So if you're up here in this class on Sunday evenings, the children's class, some of your teachers will go through these 17 Bible periods, and you're probably thinking, why is Brad going through this again? I'm not going through all of them, just the last one. And I'm going to just show you where it kind of becomes practical for you if you continue this path, studying this as you get older. The book of Romans is a letter. Wild guess who it's addressed to? Christians. So, a little homework for you. Lord willing, we get to meet Wednesday or Sunday night, and this old guy remembers. So, what book did we study during the gospel meeting? That would be Romans. And then the author of that would be Paul. So, try to remember that. I will too. So, it's just something you think of. I'm a big headings guy when I look at the Bible with self-diagnosed dyslexia and adult ADHD. I love the headings. It helps me understand the section of the verses. If you have an ESV version Bible, your heading may read Marks of a True Christian. The NIV is in the heading says love in action. And I love that. Love in action. I love that heading. Paul spent the first 11 chapters talking about the gospel. You know, what it does, its power. Chapter 12, let's put it in action. Let's live sacrificially. Let's use our gifts, whatever gift we have, to serve in some way, love in action. So what is genuine love? That's love without hypocrisy. There's no fake it till you make it when it comes to love. There are lots of things I can fake for a while. I can tell you I'm a runner until I start running. I can tell you you do CrossFit? Sure, I can do CrossFit. Until we start doing CrossFit, then it becomes problematic. I'm not a coder. I can tell you I code. Somebody gives me a 200 line of code. Hey, found the problem? No dice. Not going to happen. We can fake kindness for a while. Hard to fake love for long. There's a song that I'll dial up every now and again, and the story is about a couple who's been in a fight, a married couple who's been in a fight, and the guy leaves, and he drives around, and he goes to an establishment that the world says you should go to when things are falling apart. And he walks in, and the only person there is him, the owner. And he walks up, and the owner comes to him, he says, "What can I get you?" And the guy says, "The good stuff. I want the good stuff." And after a short pause, the owner looks at him and says, "You can't find that here." And he explains to him what the good stuff is as it relates to marriage. And they share this conversation over a glass of milk, which I thought was pretty cool. Sincere love clings to what is good. It hates the evil stuff, the good stuff that glorifies God. The good stuff that God has given us either by word or by example or is written for us. And the evil stuff, the stuff that does the opposite. You know, that God sets a standard for what is good, and we can't love everything others do or love every decision others make when it goes against what God has called good. For the remainder of the night, we're going to talk about some of the actions we see in genuine love, some of that good stuff. Love without comparison. Part of genuine love is honoring someone above yourself. I don't know if that looks like a verbal ping pong of you're awesome, no, you're awesome, no, you're awesome, or pickleball, or that might be relatable to some people out there. Maybe that's part of it. To me, that'd be kind of weird, but maybe that's part of it. You may have seen this saying tossed around on social media clips of "we are not the same." You were paddled in school, you weren't. I could tell you're not the same, something like that. But I saw this one the other day, and I don't know if I'm all in on the same, but I get the premise. The saying goes like this. It says, "I looked in your cup to see if you had enough. You looked in my cup to see if I had more than you. We're not the same. Understand the premise. But for all of us, how loud can you cheer for someone else? When I don't get the highest step on the podium or even make podium, how loud can I cheer for someone else? Or does that comparison that we all kind of struggle with, does it come in and does it suffocate my rejoicing for others? Does that little comparison, you got the angel, the devil cartoon, there's that little devil beside me, you don't need to cheer for this, you're not the one being glorified here. We celebrate others. More on that in just a little bit. Don't be lazy. If you have a problem with laziness, Sam Price can fix it for you. It's a saying that Sam used to have growing up, and I guess he still uses it. I don't know if he still uses it, but I've always been afraid to ask Sam to fix my laziness because he may just hurt my feelings. We were at a Hall of Fame induction for a team that Jessica was on a couple of years ago. And all of us were there, Luke and Amelia and Allie and I were all sitting at a table together by ourselves, and Jessica's over here hanging out with her old teammates, kind of catching up. And my kindergarten teacher was there. She is the mother of one of Jessica's teammates. She walked over and introduces herself to the kids, and I introduced them to them. And I had your dad in school, in kindergarten. Second line out of her mouth was, he was kind of lazy. So Sam, maybe you do need to have a sit down with me, because we all know the work ethic of anyone is developed in the 5 and 6 year range of life. Sometimes we're on fire, right? You know, we're like jock jams in the 90s. We're simply in fuego when we first become obedient to the word, and that can dissipate through the years. You know, sometimes we can get at lows, or January 1, we make these resolutions and we're hot. Sometimes it dissipates over the years. As Luke pointed out last night, we all have a knack. We all have a need, have a talent, something we can do, something we can use. I wouldn't say there's just one thing. I think there's multiple things that we're all kind of good at, and sometimes we don't focus on what we can do. If we'll admit it that we can do things, a lot of times we focus on the stuff that we can't do. That's our focus. I can't do what they do, but you can do this. And I think sometimes that changes throughout life, and I'll give you an example. You've heard me talk about Royce Purcell. A lot of people here remember Royce Purcell. He was very active when he was younger, leading, singing, and doing a lot of things. As time does what time does, he was not able to do those things as much anymore. And I remember Janetta saying this in a conversation one time. So the only thing he felt like he could do was encourage. And he sat kind of right where you're at, not in the same seat, Kyle, but the same area. And the first thing he would do when someone got done, he'd come up and shake their hand, and he'd say, "You did a good job." You know, he would encourage. That's what he felt like he could do. Almost 12 years later. It'll be 12 years in September. I still remember that. I know some of you all do too. You can do something. There is a need. Find the need. Serve God in whatever way you can. Love that endures during pressure. Clinging to the good stuff is difficult when we're all faced with these trials that we're promised we're going to endure. James 1:2 says, when you meet trials of various kinds, not if, it's when. I mentioned that before in some other areas. And I get the impression that Paul is suggesting this is the way life is going to be. You know, be patient. Be patient for what's to come. Rejoice for what's coming later. Cody, it's kind of like a little bit of Brooks and Dunn believe. This cannot be all there is, right? This cannot be all there is. And we know it's not all there is. And a large part of that is being constant in prayer. We only pray when the bad stuff happens. I'm guilty of that. I think we all have a tendency maybe to do that if we admit it. But what about the gratitude for these things that are going to come later for us? What about the appreciation for what God's given us later? And that Greek word for constant means being devoted, to persevere, to not faint, to not shrink back. Be joyful and patient in tribulation. Love that opens hands and homes. I read a statement, somebody else said this is love with the sleeves rolled up, money, food, time, access. We don't think about access a whole lot when we think about hospitality. We think about other stuff, but access is very important. Sometimes people just need an ear. And diving into this, mostly geared toward opening your life and home to strangers who are fellow believers. The inns in Rome during this time, from my understanding, were not very safe. So the hospitality from believers was an essential part. No doubt we can glean something from that. And that phrase, that seek to show, look, pursue, chase these opportunities wherever you can. But the inconveniences, right? The inconveniences that we all deal with, time, money, preparing food, those can be inconveniences. Weeks are long. Other things pull us in different directions. You know, when Peter was walking out to Jesus and he took his eyes off Jesus, what happened? It started to sink. Sometimes we're just exhausted. And by the way, I'm not saying this to anyone. No one here does this. There's a lot of people that do this. If you think I'm talking to you, I apologize. I'm not. I'm talking to myself with this bit. I got to ask myself, if my love is genuine, is it ever going to be inconvenienced? If love is genuine, will it never be inconvenienced? Genuine love sometimes is inconvenienced. What's the reflex when sometimes we're mistreated, right? It goes in the Rolodex. Y'all know what a Rolodex is? Okay. So there's this cylinder that has a bunch of cards on it, and you would put business cards or contact information or notes to use for later. And it was before phones and computers and everything, and you could twirl this thing and find notes. We would use these things for later. That's what Paul says the natural response is to store things in the mental Rolodex, to keep kind of score of what's going on. Paul encourages us to bless those people, right? To get rid of the mental Rolodex. Doesn't mean we're excusing what's been done. We're not going to allow bitterness to rule us, to keep score of what's been done. And it is a simple theory to write down and for anyone to get up here and say, but it is a hard one to put in practice. But that's part of the good stuff, right? Being able to pray for someone who wronged you, hat tip them in person or when they're not present. You want a real challenge. You want to challenge your ego. Try to honor those folks above yourself sometime. Rejoicing and weeping. We're going to spend a minute here. Just a dude's observation. The weeping, when others weep, I feel like we got that pretty well locked down. It's part of the empathy we should have with each other, right? When we genuinely feel for others when they suffer loss or they experience the lows in life, the sickness, the unexpected diagnosis that we just weren't planning on. And perhaps we've experienced it ourselves or we allow ourselves for just a moment to put ourselves in their shoes. What about the former? How are we rejoicing when others rejoice? Full disclosure, sometimes I'm not great at it. And why? Pride, ego, jealousy, comparison. Pick your poison there. I want to draw your minds to the lost sheep and the coin parables. We won't take the time to read this, but I know these are earthly stories with heavenly meanings, and we talked about that in Jonathan's class. You know, why would Jesus teach this way? They understood these earthly stories. Didn't really connect the heavenly meanings at a lot of times, but they understood the stories. And the heavenly meaning of these stories, these parables, is the lost return to Jesus and all that, and that we would all rejoice. You know, we'd all welcome that. Anyone, anywhere who's lost, come back to Jesus. There's a call to rejoice. But I would ask you for just a moment, just to humor me on the earthly story part. Put yourself in the friend and neighbor role of these parables. I'll call you all together and say, you know those 100 sheep I had? Well, I lost one, but I found it. Or I had 10 coins, and I lost one, but I found it. Let's all rejoice in that. What's the response? We had 99. What's one sheep? I don't have 99 sheep. I got 60 sheep. I wish I had 99 sheep. I got 6 coins. You got 9. I think Kyle in a lesson not too long ago said whoop-de-doo, right? Whoop-de-doo. That probably wouldn't happen. In today's time, we probably wouldn't have that experience. It's probably weird. But I wonder how odd it would have been during that time frame if people had not rejoiced with each other because they were so tight-knit, they were so together. Let me say this. If there's someone in your life, and it can't be family because family's biased. I mean, let's be honest. Family's always typically, always will celebrate your wins. But if there's someone you have connected through the blood of Jesus that you can share your wins with, there's genuine rejoicing, genuine love, genuine happiness that you celebrated these wins, cherish those souls. And also to use some corporate jargon on you. If that's a gap in yours and my skill set, it's probably something we should all work on developing. I think that attribute probably aligns with love that is genuine. Go through your day-to-day interactions. I typically, almost every day, interact with lots of people who are very different from me, different ideologies, sit in different pews, certainly some different lifestyles that I interact with each and every day. You probably do the same thing. Do you align with those people 100%? I know I don't, and they don't with me. Is the relationship good? Is it peaceful? Or is it filled with strife and turmoil? In those interactions, is there a right side or a wrong side? How many times do you find yourself on the right side? That's what pride can do. Paul's encouraging in this same text. I hope you can follow along with the verses that are on the screen there. Paul's encouraging us in this same text to think of ourselves properly, to not be proud, to associate with the lowly or of low position. And in studying this, it can be understood a couple different ways. This could be referred to tasks or people, tasks that we think that are beneath us because we've reached this position or this status. Lowly can also refer to people who have really no notoriety or success, and I'm hesitant to put a title on that because that's what the world does. Our culture constantly ranks people by income, titles, houses, followers. It teaches to measure worth by position, but I guess every culture probably has that. Doesn't make it more comfortable for me. You ever caught yourself looking at someone's situation and thinking, man, how did they end up there? How did they end up there? That's a treacherous thought process. If you heard me say this, you know I'm a firm believer in you're free to choose. You're not free of the choices of your consequences. All in on that. There may be some situations where that is true. There's also some truth that not everyone's been afforded the same opportunities that some of us have. Our paths are not the same, and assuming that we are where we are or have what we have, that just because we have it means that everyone else should also. Should be cautious of that perspective, one that can lead to a proud or conceited mindset, one that Paul encourages to stay away from. Think about Nebuchadnezzar and what he did. He stood up and look at all this I've built, how quickly it was taken away from him. Well, we can hope for anyone in any position everywhere that are using it to glorify God in some way. And Paul mentions in the first part of this chapter, in chapter 2, God does not show favoritism. I know that context is talking about righteous judgment. But that glory and honor and peace are for everyone who does good. Romans 2, 10 through 11. Something that Jason kind of started a long time ago is the next right thing. It's a song from the movie Frozen, for those of you who have Frozen 2 who have littles out there. Do not repay evil for evil. Things you've already kind of touched on. Don't put things in the mental Rolodex. It's a simple principle, but not an easy one to follow through when someone's wronged us. It's kind of like the song, The Next Right Thing from Frozen. It's not very popular. And it's not very popular not to get someone back or do the right thing. But maybe this one from Frozen 1 will help. Let it go. Let it go. I know it's not the context of the song, but whatever it is, let it go. Do the right thing. Do what genuine love does. You recall in Genesis 4 where Cain was angry that Abel's sacrifice was accepted and his was not. And God told him, if you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at the door and its desire to have you, but you must rule over it. There's some accountability there on us, isn't it? It depends on us. So if possible, as far as it depends on us, be at peace with everyone. Now that may be impossible. But it's something we should probably make sure that that impossibility doesn't exist because of us. Because that's what we're called to be. We're called to be peacemakers, Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Sons of God. Can't control how others respond. Can't control their thoughts, their actions, what they think is important, what I think is important. I can only control my tone, my words, my attitudes, and my actions. It takes a lot of self-reflection to work out if unpeaceful situations exist because of me. It takes a little bit of James 1, reflecting that perfect law that's mentioned in there in verses 23 to 25. Loving God with all my heart, soul, and mind, and also to love my neighbor as myself. Genuine love should desire peace as far as it depends on us. But what if it's unachievable? We referenced this part of this book, the early part of this book just a minute ago in Romans 2. There's going to be situations where peace just isn't achievable. If you back up in chapter 2 to verse 9, Paul also states that there will be trouble and distress for anyone who does evil. And I know that, again, that's talking about righteous judgment. It may not happen here, but it could happen, can happen. There may be temptations for us to, when we've been wrong and peace is unachievable, to look for an opportunity to wait to retaliate or avenge ourselves or someone that we care about. Getting people back doesn't really align with genuine love or treating people righteously. Paul encourages us to leave it to God. He's going to repay. And the ESV and the NIV use the word on the contrary, or to the contrary. The King James uses therefore. And I'm not smart enough to work out all the Greek stuff, so I'm just going to roll with the word contrary because I like it. I think it's a good word because it means the opposite, right? As we've discussed, what is our nature to being wrong by someone? Sick them, right? Let's get them back. Paul is saying don't follow your natural tendencies here. Don't reflex. Don't give in to the impulses. Leave that to God. Continue to do good to people who may be an enemy to you. If he's hungry, feed him. He's thirsty, give him something to drink. By doing so, you will heap burning coals on his head. There are a lot of different opinions about what that means. There's a reference to Proverbs 25. There's a reference to God's judgment. Some say it means work on their conscience. Some say it allows God's judgment to fall upon that person. Wherever you're at with that, cool. I would consider debating over someone over that. To me, it doesn't matter as much as the message. It doesn't change the message of this section of verses. Righteous people, treating people righteously means love in action. As we kind of wrap this up, it was probably pretty fast. And I don't know if you were able to get anything from it. If you did, it's all on me. It's nothing against Word of God's deliverer, for sure. So if you get nothing out of this, take this. I used to think of Romans 9 to 21 as the heading in the ESV says marks of a true Christian, as a list of good behaviors for Christians to have. And I guess you could look at it that way, and I think there's anything wrong with that. But someone mentioned this as I was studying this. It's a portrait of Jesus. We're all beneficiaries of a genuine love Genuine in his ministry. How many times was he treated poorly during his ministry? Genuine in his interactions he had with people, in his betrayal, in his trials, in his crucifixion, forgiving them for they don't know what they're doing. His resurrection. And it's still genuine today. Christ genuinely wants all mankind to be saved and to be a portrait of him during our time here. I was going to lead us in this song in just a few short moments. And we're going to sing together phrases like this. Died he for me who caused his pain, for me who scorned his perfect love. Emptied yourself of all but love. No greater love will ever be known, for oh my God, it found out me. Amazing, genuine love. If you're ready to receive that love, we would love to help you, or for you, the prayers of the saints of this congregation here, please, we ask you to come forward. Do the next right thing as we stand and as we sing.